My mother told me she couldn't come to the hospital because my sister's birthday cake was about to be cut, 3 hours after I told her my husband and my 2 children were dead. I remember every sound from that hallway, the squeak of a nurse's shoes on the polished floor, the low murmur of a police officer talking to a doctor, the buzzing fluorescent light over me head, the cheap plastic chair under me that felt too small for the grief trying to rip through my body. I was still wearing my navy blue scrubs. There was iodine on my sleeve. Someone had wrapped a gray blanket around my shoulders, but I kept shivering anyway. My hands smelled like antiseptic. My throat tasted like metal. My husband, Daniel, was gone. My daughter, Sophie, was gone. My little boy, Eli, was gone. And my mother chose buttercream frosting. My name is Claire Bennett. I was 35 when my life ended and somehow kept going. I worked as an emergency room nurse at St. Catherine's Medical Center in Columbus, Ohio. Before that night, I had the kind of life people call ordinary because they do not know ordinary can be sacred. Daniel was a civil engineer with a laugh that filled every room before he entered it. He had an annoying habit of leaving coffee mugs in the garage, on the porch, on top of the washing machine, anywhere except the sink. I used to complain about it. After he died, I found one mug behind a stack of paint cans and sat on the garage floor holding it like a relic. Sophie was 7. She drew butterflies in everything: homework margins, restaurant napkins, grocery receipts, the whiteboard in my kitchen. She said butterflies were proof that ugly little things could turn into something beautiful if nobody stepped on them too soon. Eli was 4. He slept with a stuffed bear named Captain Blue, even though the bear was brown and missing one eye. He told everyone he was going to become a doctor, for sad hearts. When I asked him what medicine he would give people with sad hearts, he said, pancakes. We lived in a small yellow house in Westerville with a cracked driveway, a maple tree in the front yard, and toys under every couch. It was not glamorous. It was ours. My birth family was not like that. I was the oldest daughter, which in my family meant I was not a daughter at all. I was the emergency contact, the unpaid organizer, the designated driver, the holiday cook, the reliable bank account, the person everyone praised only when I was useful. My mother, Linda, had 2 voices. There was the soft, syrupy voice she used at church, at baby showers, and in front of people whose opinions mattered. Then there was the clipped, sharp voice she used on me. Claire, don't be dramatic. Claire, just help your sister. Claire, you know how your father gets. Claire, can you bring the food? She never asked how my night shifts were. She never came to Sophie's school concerts. She forgot Eli's birthday 2 years in a row, then blamed me for not reminding her, properly. But for my younger sister, Melissa, there were balloons, flowers, themed cakes, rented venues, and Facebook posts with captions about my precious baby girl. Melissa was 29, beautiful in the effortless way that made strangers open doors for her. She had never kept a job longer than 6 months, never paid back a loan, never apologized without adding a reason it was really someone else's fault. My mother treated her like a fragile porcelain doll. She treated me like the cardboard box the doll came in. Daniel saw it clearly from the beginning. At our first Thanksgiving after we got married, I cooked 2 casseroles, carved the turkey because my father said his wrist hurt, washed dishes for 2 hours, and missed dessert because Melissa cried in the bathroom over a fight with her boyfriend. On the ride home, Daniel said, "Your family doesn't love you like family. They use you like staff." I stared out the window at the dark highway. "They're not that bad," I said. He reached across the console and squeezed my hand. "Claire," he said gently, "you defend them like you're afraid someone will punish you for telling the truth." I laughed it off because that was easier than admitting he was right. The truth was, he had been trained to believe love was something I earned by being convenient. If I was helpful, calm, available, forgiving, and quiet enough, maybe my mother would look at me the way she looked at Melissa. She never did. The night everything happened was November 18th. A cold rain had been falling since noon, the kind that makes headlights smear across the road and turns every parking lot into a mirror. Daniel had taken Sophie and Eli to their swim lesson because I was finishing a 12-hour shift. He texted me at 6:42 p.m. with a picture of Eli wearing goggles upside down and Sophie making a peace sign. "Daniel, your son is either ready for the Olympics or deep-sea crime. Me, give them kisses. I'll be home by 8. That was the last message I ever sent my whole family. They were 12 minutes from home when a drunk driver ran a red light on Cleveland Avenue. His truck hit Daniel's side of the car so hard that the sedan spun across 3 lanes and slammed into a utility pole. Daniel died at the scene. Sophie was alive when paramedics pulled her out, but she died in the ambulance. Eli made it to my hospital. My hospital. I was in the nurse's station, signing off on a medication chart, when the trauma doors burst open and I heard someone shout, 4-year-old male, motor vehicle collision, unresponsive. I looked up because I had looked up at that sentence 100 times before. Then I saw Captain Blue. The stuffed bear was clutched against the child's chest, dark with rain and blood. For 1 second, my brain refused to understand. It was like seeing your kitchen table in the middle of a battlefield. Familiar and impossible. Then I saw Eli's shoe. A red sneaker with a dinosaur sticker in the side. My knees went out. My friend Angela, another ER nurse, grabbed me before I hit the floor. Dr. Patel turned and saw my face. The whole room changed. People moved faster and softer at the same time. Someone pulled me back, someone said my name. Someone said, "Claire, don't look." But I looked. I wish I had not. I also know I would have hated myself forever if I had not. They worked on Eli for 23 minutes. I counted every compression. I counted every order. I counted every breath that did not come back. When Dr. Patel called time of death, the room went silent in a way hospitals almost never do. Hospitals are machines of noise, monitors, wheels, pagers, vents, phones. But for 2 seconds, after my little boy died, even the machine seemed ashamed. Angela held me while I made sounds I did not recognize, not screams. Something lower. Animal. Torn out of me. A police officer told me Daniel had died immediately. A chaplain told me Sophie was gone too. I nodded like a person receiving information in a language she had studied but could no longer speak. Then I called my mother. I do not know why. Instinct, maybe. Childhood programming. When your world burns, you reach for the person who was supposed to be safe before you knew the word safe. She answered on the 5th ring. Behind her, I heard music. Laughter. Women talking over each other. Someone shouted, "Light the candles." "Claire," my mother said, "make it quick. We're about to do the cake." I pressed the phone so hard to my ear it hurt. "Mom," I said. My voice was barely air. "There was an accident." "Apayus." "What kind of accident?" "Daniel is dead." I swallowed, but my throat would not move. "Sophie and Eli too." "Mom, they're gone. I'm at St. Catherine's. I need you." The background noise faded a little, like she had stepped into another room. I waited for the gasp. The sob. The chair scraping back. The words every daughter thinks she will hear when her children die. "I'm coming." Instead, my mother sighed. Not a grief sigh. An inconvenience sigh. "Oh, Claire," she said. "That's horrible." I closed my eyes. "Mom, please. I can't do this alone." "Honey, tonight is Melissa's 30th. People flew in. The cake is custom. We can't just leave in the middle of everything." For a moment, I thought the shock had damaged my hearing. "My children are dead." "I heard you," she said, and there was irritation now. "But there's nothing we can do at the hospital tonight, is there? Call one of your nurse friends. You always have people around you there." "Mom. Claire, don't make me feel guilty. Melissa has been planning this for months. She'll fall apart if we all disappear. We'll come tomorrow. Or the day after. Your father has an early meeting." Then, softer, as if that made it kind, "Try to be strong." She hung up. I sat staring at my phone until the screen went black. I called my father next. He answered from what sounded like the same party. "Dad," it whispered. "Daniel and the kids are dead." "I know," he said quietly, "your mother told me." "Can you come?" There was a long pause. In that pause I heard him choose. "Claire, I'm sorry. I really am. But your mom says it's not a good time to upset everyone. We'll stop by later this week." "Dad, I'm at the hospital with their bodies." "I know, sweetheart. Just hang in there." Then he hung up too. Melissa did not call. She texted 2 hours later. "So sorry. I can't even imagine. We'll talk tomorrow." There were 3 white heart emojis after a dot. I threw the phone across the hallway. Angela picked it up, cracked screen and all, and put it in her pocket. Then she sat beside me on the floor. She did not say, "They probably didn't mean it." She did not say, "That's just how your mother is." She did not ask me to be understanding. She just sat there and cried with me. That night I signed papers no wife, no mother, no human being should ever have to sign. Identified my husband by a wedding ring and a scar near his eyebrow. I kissed Sophie's cold forehead and apologized because I had not been there. I tucked Captain Blue beside Eli because he always cried if the bear was too far away. At 3:16 a.m., I walked out of the hospital without my family. Not just Daniel, Sophie, and Eli. All of them. The funeral was 5 days later. It rained again. Of course it did. November in Ohio can be cruel that way, gray and wet and pitiless. The cemetery grass sank under everyone's shoes. The sky looked like dirty cotton. There were 3 caskets. 1 large. 2 small. I had chosen a navy suit for Daniel, Sophie's yellow dress with tiny embroidered flowers, and Eli's dinosaur sweater. I remember standing in the funeral home bathroom, gripping the sink, because I had just approved the clothes my children would be buried in and my brain could not accept that such a sentence existed. The first row at the cemetery was reserved for family. My family. It stayed empty. Daniel's parents had died years earlier. His best friend, Mark, flew in from Denver and stood on my left, holding an umbrella over me even though his own shoulders were soaked. Angela stood on my right. Half the ER came, some still in scrubs under black coats. Dr. Patel cried behind his glasses. Pastor James from Daniel Church said words about love and eternity, but I only heard fragments, beloved husband. Precious children. Taken too soon. The empty row screamed louder than all of it. My mother posted a picture that afternoon from Melissa's birthday party. It was from the night of the accident. Melissa stood behind a 3-tier cake, smiling with both hands under her chin like a teenager. My mother's caption said, "A magical night celebrating our beautiful Melissa. Family is everything." I saw it because someone sent me a screenshot with, "Is your mom serious?" I did not respond. A week after the funeral, my mother called. I stared at her name on the cracked phone screen. I let it ring until voicemail. She called again, then Melissa. Then my father. Finally, I answered because some part of me still wanted an apology. My mother did not give me one. "Claire," she said, brisk and bright, "we're doing Sunday dinner at our house. I think it's time you came around, people. Can you bring your baked mac and cheese?" I sat at my kitchen table. Daniel's coffee mug was across from me. Sophie's butterfly drawing was still stuck to the fridge. Eli's booster seat was still tied to one chair because I had not found the strength to remove it. "I buried my husband and children 7 days ago," I said. "Yes, and isolating yourself nice and healthy. You need normalcy. You want me to bring food? Well, everyone loves your mac and cheese. And honestly, Claire, the family is hurting too. You shutting us out is making it worse." That was the moment something inside me went very quiet. Not peaceful. Final. I said, "Do you remember what you told Muhan I called from the hospital?" She huffed. "Claire, I was in shock. People say things. You said the cake was about to be cut. You retwisting it." "No. I'm finally hearing it. Don't punish us because you're grieving." I looked at Captain Blue sitting on the shelf near the TV. Angela had washed him and brought him back in a plastic bag. His missing eye made him look braver than all of us. "I need space," I said. "You didn't get to abandon your mother." I laughed once. It sounded strange in me empty kitchen. "You abandoned me in an emergency room." Then I hung up. I blocked her number. Then my father's. Then Melissa's. After that, I sent one message in the family group chat: "I need no contact. Do not call me. Do not come to my house. Do not use Daniel, Sophie, or Eli to pressure him. You made your choice the night I begged you to come. Now I am making mine." My mother replied from Melissa's phone before I could block the group. "You are being cruel. Your family is suffering too." I looked at that word. Cruel. I thought of 3 caskets in the rain and an empty first row. Then I deleted the chat. For the first time in my life, I stopped asking my mother to love me. Grief does not move in a straight line. People talk about stages as if you walk through them like rooms in a museum: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. That is not how it felt to me. It felt like drowning in different temperatures of water. Some mornings I woke up and forgot for 4 seconds. I would turn toward Daniel's side of the bed and think, he forgot his alarm again. Then the truth would drop onto my chest so hard I could not breathe. Some days I cried over obvious things: Sophie's pink toothbrush, Eli's little socks, Daniel's work boots by the back door. Other days it was something stupid. The grocery store still had the cereal Eli liked. A school bus stopped near my driveway. A cartoon played on a waiting room TV. A woman in Target snapped at her child for asking too many questions, and I had to leave my cart in the aisle because I would have given anything for one more impossible question from my son. I went back to work after 6 weeks because staying home felt like being buried alive. St. Catherine's gave me more leave. I refused it. The year was awful, but at least it was awful with purpose. Angela watched me like I was glass. Dr. Patel gave me administrative tasks when pediatric trauma came in. Sometimes I resented him for it. Sometimes I loved him for it. Once, a 5-year-old boy arrived with a broken arm and a stuffed dog tucked under him, and I walked into the supply closet, closed the door, and pressed my fist against my mouth until the sound inside me passed. At home, people left casseroles on my porch. Neighbors shoveled mid-driveway without asking. Mark flew back twice just to fix things Daniel would have fixed: the loose railing, the garage door sensor, the garbage disposal that made a grinding noise. The people who had no obligation to show up kept showing up. Mom is devastated. Melissa cries every night. Your father doesn't know what to do. I wanted to scream, then they should have come when I begged. In January, I received a call from a lawyer named Robert Hayes. I recognized the name vaguely. Daniel had mentioned him once, maybe twice, when we signed house papers. Mrs. Bennett, he said, I'm sorry to contact you at a time like this, but your husband left instructions with my office. We need to meet. The word husband hit me like a slap. Present tense had become dangerous. Robert's office was on the fourth floor of an old brick building downtown, above a coffee shop that smelled like cinnamon and burnt espresso. Hugh was in his late 50s, neat gray beard, kind eyes, no wedding ring. His office had law books, framed certificates, and a small wooden cross in the desk. He offered coffee. I said no. He offered water. I said yes and did not drink it. He placed a manila folder in front of me. Daniel took out a life insurance policy 9 months before the accident, he said. I stared at the folder. We had life insurance through work, I said, this was separate. How much? Robert hesitated, like he knew the number would feel obscene against the size of my loss. $1.2 million. I blinked. The room shifted. Not dramatically. Just enough that the edges of things seemed farther away. That can't be right. It is. You are the sole beneficiary. I pushed the folder back like it might burn me. Why would he do that? Robert folded his hands. He came to me after your son's 4th birthday party. My breath caught. Eli's party. The one my mother had missed because Melissa had a spa emergency. The one Daniel had spent grilling hot dogs in the rain while I pretended not to care that my parents never came. Robert continued, he said, if anything happens to me, Claire will have no safety net. Her family will circle around whatever benefits them and call it love. I need to make sure she's protected. I covered my mouth. Robert slid a sealed envelope across the desk. He also left this. Daniel's handwriting was on the front. Claire, only if you need me and I'm not there. I stared at those words until they blurred. Inside was a letter. My Claire, if you are reading this, then I have failed at the only job I cared about most, which was coming home to you and the kids. I hope this letter is never opened. I hope Robert shreds it someday while I am old and annoying and still leaving coffee mugs everywhere. But if life is cruel, I need you to know something. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not selfish for needing care. Your family trained you to feel guilty for having needs because guilt made you easier to use. I have watched you carry rooms full of people who would not carry your purse if your hands were broken. So if I am gone, let me carry you this one last time. Use the money to breathe. Fix the roof. Take time off. Go somewhere warm. Help people if you want to, because I know you. But do not give it to anyone who ignored your pain when it was inconvenient. Promise me 3 things. Do not let your mother turn your grief into her performance. Do not let Melissa turn your loss into her opportunity. Do not shrink your pain to make other people comfortable. I love you in every version of every life. Daniel. By the time I finished reading, he was bent over the letter, sobbing into my hands. Not because of the money. Because Daniel had seen me. Fully. Even the parts I hid under competence and excuses. For weeks, I did nothing with the policy. The money sat in an account Robert helped set up. I paid the mortgage ahead. I replaced the furnace because Daniel had been worried about it. I took 3 unpaid weeks off when the nightmares got too bad. Then I started thinking about the families I had seen in the ER. The mother who could not afford to bury her son after a drunk driver hit him on his bike. The pregnant wife whose husband survived a crash but could not work for 8 months. The grandparents raising 2 children because their daughter was killed by a man who had 3 prior DUIs and still had Allison's. Drunk driving did not end at impact. It kept breaking people afterward. Medical bills. Funerals. Rent. Therapy. Court dates. Lost wages. The crash killed fast. The aftermath killed slowly. One night, I sat at me kitchen table with Daniel's letter, Sophie's butterfly drawing, and Captain Blue in front of me. I opened my laptop and typed, Bennett Family Road Safety Fund. Then I deleted it. Too cold. I tried again. Daniel, Sophie, and Eli Foundation. I cried for 20 minutes after typing their names together. Then I kept going. Robert helped with the legal paperwork. Angela connected me with a hospital social worker. Mark built the website. Pastor James offered meeting space at the church without asking for publicity. Dr. Patel donated the first $5,000 after me. The mission was simple: emergency financial help for families affected by drunk driving crashes. Funeral support. Rent support. Therapy grants. Legal referrals. Childcare during court hearings. Real things. Immediate things. The kind of help nobody thinks about until they are standing in a hospital hallway with their world in pieces. I used part of Daniel's money to start it. The rest, I protected. That was Daniel's first gift after death. His second gift was the truth. Because news spread strangely in cities. Quietly at first. Then all at once. A local reporter named Tasha Reed had covered the accident because the driver who killed my family had 2 prior DUI convictions. She contacted me months later to ask about a follow-up story. I almost said no. Then I thought of Daniel's letter. Do not shrink your pain. So I told her. Not everything. Not the ugliest pieces. But enough. The article ran on a Sunday morning. Widowed nurse turns family tragedy into lifeline for drunk driving victims. It talked about Daniel, Sophie, and Eli. It talked about the foundation. It talked about the drunk driver's record. It talked about gaps in the system. It included a picture of me holding Sophie's butterfly drawing and Captain Blue. In paragraph 9, Tasha wrote, Bennett said she organized the funerals with the help of coworkers, friends, and church members after immediate relatives failed to attend. No names. No accusations. Just truth. That paragraph detonated my mother's life. For years, Linda Bennett had built an identity around being admired. She led the women's committee at church. She organized charity luncheons. She posted Bible verses over filtered selfies. She called herself a family-first mother, so often people believed it. Then people read that line. At church, Mrs. Hanley asked her, Linda, is it true you didn't go to your grandchildren's funeral? My mother apparently laughed it off and said I had requested privacy. But Pastor James had been at the cemetery. So had half the congregation. The empty row had not been invisible. It had merely been politely ignored. Politeness expired. A woman from my mother's book club messaged me. Claire, I had no idea. I am so sorry. I believed your mother when she said you pushed everyone away. Another message came from my cousin Erin. Did Aunt Linda really stay at Melissa's party that night? Then my mother found a way around my block. She used Melissa's old college roommate's phone. The message said, your mother is heartbroken. She wants reconciliation. Come to church hall Friday. This is what Daniel would want. I almost deleted it. Then I saw the next line. Come for Sophie and Eli's memory. My mother had ignored me children in life, abandoned them in death, and now wanted to use their names as bait. I went. Not because I wanted reconciliation. Because I was done letting her narrate my pain. The church hall smelled like coffee, lemon cleaner, and grocery store cookies. About 30 people were there. More than I expected. Women from the church. 2 of my aunts, Melissa in a cream sweater and perfect makeup. My father near the back, looking smaller than I remembered. My mother stood at the front beside Pastor James, wearing a lavender dress and holding a tissue like a prop. The moment I walked in, her face softened into public sorrow. My baby, she whispered, opening her arms. I did not move toward her. That was the one time people saw the script fail. Pastor James looked uncomfortable. Claire, he said gently, your mother asked for this gathering because she hoped there could be healing. My mother dabbed her eyes. I have been grieving not only my grandchildren, but the loss of my daughter, she said to the room. Pain can make people push away the ones who love them most. Melissa nodded dramatically. We lost them too, she said. But Claire acts like she owns the grief. Something hot and clean went through me. Not rage exactly. Clarity. I stepped forward. My husband and children died on November 18, I said. At 9:47 p.m., I called my mother from St. Catherine's emergency department. I told her Daniel was dead. I told her Sophie and Eli were dead. She told me she could not come because Melissa's birthday cake was a butobi cut. The room changed. People stopped breathing normally. My mother's tissue froze near her cheek. That is not what happened, she said. I took my phone from my coat pocket. I have the call log. 9:47 p.m. duration, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. I called my father at 9:53. He told me to hang in there and said he would come later that week. Melissa texted me at 12:06 a.m. So sorry. We'll talk tomorrow. Melissa's face went pale, then red. My mother's voice sharpened. You are humiliating us in front of everyone. I looked at her. You asked for an audience. Someone gasped. Someone else murmured, oh my God. My father stared at the floor. I turned to Pastor James. Were you at the funeral? His eyes filled. Yes. Was the first row reserved for my family empty? He swallowed. Yes. My mother whispered, Pastor. But he did not rescue her. That was twist 1. For once, the room did not bend around my mother's performance. I looked back at the people watching us. I did not come here to punish anyone. I came because my children's names were used to pressure me into silence. I will not allow that again. Then I faced my mother. I am not keeping you away because I am broken. I am keeping you away because I am finally healthy enough to know what abandonment looks like. I walked out. No one followed me. Not even Melissa. 3 days later, she came to my house. I saw her through the camera doorbell, standing on my porch in oversized sunglasses, holding a tissue, glancing at her reflection in the window like grief needed good angles. I opened the door but left the chain on. What do you want? She removed the sunglasses. Her eyes were red, but not from crying. More like she had rubbed them hard before ringing the bell. Can we talk? No, Claire, please. Mommy's spiraling. People are being awful to her. People are reacting to what she did. Melissa shifted. Look, I know the night of the accident was bad. I laughed. I could not help it. Bad. I mean, obviously horrible. But we were all in shock. And Mom thought you had hospital people with you. My children were dead, Melissa. She looked away. I know. No, you don't. If you knew, you wouldn't be here making excuses. Her mouth tightened. There she was. The real Melissa, underneath the helpless act. I came to apologize. Then apologize. She stared at me. I'm sorry you feel like we weren't there. I began to close the door. Wait, she snapped, dropping the soft voice. Fine. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry we didn't come. But you can't just cut us out forever. You got all this money now. You're starting some foundation. You need people you trust. I went still. There it was. Twist 2. Not remorse, opportunity. What did you just say? She lifted her chin. I could help. I have experience with social media. I could be director of outreach or events. Paid, obviously, but not crazy. It would look good too. Family healing after tragedy. People love that. I stared at my sister, and for a second I saw her whole life with terrible precision. Every time she cried and I got blamed. Every time she needed money and I was selfish if I said no. Every time my mother made me smaller so Melissa could shine brighter. You missed my children's funeral, I said, but you made it to my porch for a paycheck. Her face twisted, that is so unfair. No. It's the cleanest sentence I've ever said. Mom said you'd act like this. Then Mom knows me better now. I closed the door. She pounded once. Claire, don't be stupid. You can't run a foundation alone. I spoke through the door. I'm not alone. That's the part none of you understand. That night, I called Robert. I need legal protection, I said. He did not ask me if I was sure. I'll prepare a no-contact letter. Include my mother, my father, and Melissa. Understood. And the foundation? We'll create a board structure, conflict of interest policy, donor protections, and restrictions. Nobody touches it without proper authority. I looked at Daniel's letter on the table. Good. For the first time since the accident, I slept 5 hours without waking up screaming. The no-contact letter landed on a Monday. By noon, my mother had called Robert's office 8 times. He sent me a transcript summary because I asked for documentation, not drama. Linda Bennett stated that her daughter was mentally unstable from grief. Linda Bennett stated that outside influences were controlling family assets. Linda Bennett objected to the phrase harassment. Linda Bennett was informed that further attempts to contact Mrs. Bennett directly, appear at her residence, or interfere with the foundation could result in legal escalation. I read that last sentence twice. Legal escalation. My whole childhood, consequences had been something my mother gave me, not something she received. She did not take it well. She posted vague quotes online. Some people let money change them. A grieving heart can be poisoned by pride. Pray for mothers rejected by their own children, grandchildren's funeral? The post disappeared 11 minutes later. But screenshots do what memory sometimes cannot. They stay. Then came the fundraiser. The Daniel, Sophie, and Eli Foundation held its first public event 6 months after the crash at a renovated warehouse downtown. It had exposed brick, warm lights, a small stage, and a wall of framed photos. Daniel holding Sophie on his shoulders. Eli asleep against Micahist. Our last family Halloween, all 4 of us dressed as characters from The Wizard of Oz because Sophie insisted I was definitely the lion because you're brave but worried. I almost cancelled that morning. I stood in my bedroom wearing a black dress Angela had helped me choose and could not zip it because my hands were shaking. I can't do this, I said. Angela stood behind me in the mirror. Yes, you can. What if I cry? Then you cry. What if people think I am using them? Angela turned me around. Claire, your family taught you that being seen is the same as being selfish. It's not. At the venue, 180 people came. Doctors, nurses, firefighters, families we had already helped, local reporters, city council members. A mother whose son had been killed by a drunk driver 3 years earlier hugged me so hard he almost lost my balance. The foundation had already paid for 5 funerals, 9 months of emergency rent across 4 households, and therapy for 11 survivors. Those numbers felt tiny compared with the ocean of pain, but they were real. They were something. When it was time to speak, my mouth went dry. I walked to the podium carrying Captain Blue. I had not planned to bring him. At the last minute, I could not leave him behind. The room quieted. My husband bought a life insurance policy because he was afraid that if anything happened to him, I would be left with people who knew how to take from me but not how to hold me, I said. A ripple moved through the room. I kept going. He was right. And he was also wrong. Because I was not left alone. My coworkers came. My friends came. My neighbors came, strangers came. And in that terrible truth, I learned something. Family is not always the people who claim you when cameras are on, sometimes family is who stands beside you in the rain when there is nothing to gain. I saw Dr. Patel wipe his eyes. Mark looked down, Angela pressed a napkin to her mouth. I told them about Sophie's butterflies. About Eli's pancakes for sad hearts. About Daniel's letter. I told them that grief can either become a locked room or an open door, and I was trying, every day, to make mine a door. When I stepped down, the room stood. I do not remember deciding to cry out, I just did. For the first time, applause did not feel like attention. It felt like witness. Then I saw my mother. She stood near the back entrance with Melissa beside her. My father hovered behind them, pale and miserable. They were dressed like guests at a wedding they had not been invited to. My mother wore pearls. Melissa wore a cream jumpsuit and held a phone angled suspiciously toward her face. My stomach turned. Robert saw them too. He moved toward me, but my mother was faster. She crossed the room with wet eyes and open arms. My baby, she said, loud enough for nearby donors to hear. I am so proud of you. There it was. The line I had waited 35 years to hear. Delivered in public. After cameras arrived. Too late to be love. Too polished to grief. I looked at her arms, then at her face. Thank you for coming, I said, the way you thank a stranger who held a door. Her smile flickered. Can we talk privately? There is nothing private that could not have been said when I buried them. A photographer lowered his camera. Melissa stepped in, voice trembling with practiced emotion. We came tonight because family should heal. I turned to her. You came tonight because the room is full of donors. Her eyes flashed. That's disgusting. Yes, I said. It is. My mother's face tightened, she leaned closer and whispered, do not embarrass me here. I almost smiled. She still thought embarrassment was the worst thing that could happen in a room. My husband and children are dead, I said quietly, you cannot scare me with embarrassment anymore. Robert arrived at my side. Mrs. Bennett, he said to my mother, you received written notice not to contact my client. My mother straightened, returning to her public voice. I am her mother. And you are trespassing at a private event. That was twist 3. The woman who had once controlled every room was now being handled like a problem at the door. Melissa looked around and realized people were watching. Not admiring. Watching. My father finally spoke. Linda, he said weakly, we should go. My mother ignored him. Claire, she said, and now her voice cracked for real. Not from grief, from loss of control. You would destroy your own mother? I held Captain Blue against my ribs. No. I'm just done helping you destroy him. Security escorted them out. No shouting. No scene big enough for my mother to turn into martyrdom. Just quiet removal. But the bigger humiliation came 2 days later. Tasha Reed published a follow-up article about the fundraiser. It mentioned the money raised, $284,000 in one night. It mentioned the families helped. It mentioned proposed state legislation for repeat DUI offenders. Near the end, it said, the evening briefly paused when Bennett's estranged relatives, previously absent from the funerals, arrived uninvited and were escorted out after violating a legal no-contact request. Again, no names. Again, enough. My mother resigned from the women's committee before they could vote her out. They photos asking if the cake was worth it. My father sent me one email. Claire, I failed you. There is no gentle way to see it. I heard your voice that night and I stayed. I chose peace with your mother over my daughter's devastation. I am ashamed. I do not expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I am sorry. Dad, I read it 6 times. I did not reply. But I did not delete it. That was all I had in me. The drunk driver who killed my family pleaded guilty in July. I sat in court with Angela on one side and Mark on the other. My mother was not there. Neither was Melissa. My father came alone and sat 5 rows behind me. He did not approach. The driver stood in an orange jumpsuit and cried while his lawyer talked about addiction, remorse, and a difficult childhood. I believed addiction was real. I believed remorse might be real too. He also believed my children were still dead. When the judge allowed victim impact statements, I walked to the front with Sophie's butterfly drawing in Captain Blue. I looked at the man who had taken 3 lives and broken mine open. You did not just kill my husband and my children, I said, you created empty chairs at every breakfast table I will sit at for the rest of my life. You turned my daughter's bedroom into a museum. You made my son stuffed bear something I carry into court. You ended bedtime stories, school concerts, scraped knees, lost teeth, teenage arguments, graduations, weddings, grandchildren. You did not cause one bad night. You erased a future. He cried harder. I did not. Not then. Then I turned slightly, toward the gallery, though I did not look directly at my father. And to anyone who thinks absence is neutral, it is not. When someone is drowning, standing on the shore is a choice. The judge sentenced him to 28 years. I felt no joy. But I felt a door close. Outside. I said only this: my family died because one man decided his convenience mattered more than other people's lives. I survived by learning not to let anyone else make that same decision with my heart. That line played on the evening news. The foundation received $60,000 in donations within 24 hours. My mother sent word through my aunt that I was publicly shaming the family. It told my aunt, the truth is not shame. The shame is what made the truth possible. She had no answer. 1 year after the accident, I went to the cemetery on November 18th. The sky was clear this time. Cold, but clear. The maple trees had dropped most of their leaves, and the ground was scattered with golden brown. I brought sunflowers for Daniel because he used to buy them when Heifer got anniversaries and claimed they were pre-apology flowers. I brought purple tulips for Sophie because she once announced purple was the color of smart girls. I brought a new bear for Eli and tucked Captain Blue safely in my coat because the original had done enough. I sat between the 3 graves and told them everything. I told Daniel the furnace worked now. I told him Mark still couldn't fix the garage door properly and cursed like him when he tried. I told Sophie that her butterflies were on the foundation logo. I told Eli that we had created a therapy grant for kids and called it the Pancake Fund, because some sad hearts need breakfast too. I told them I was still angry. I told them I was still breathing. I told them I was sorry. Then I read Daniel's letter aloud, even though I knew every word. When I reached the line "use the money to breathe," the wind moved through the grass. I used to hate when people made signs out of weather, as if grief needed special effects. But that day, I let myself have it. I let the wind be Daniel. I let the sun be Sophie. I let the little bird hopping near Eli's stone be whatever mercy looks like when it is small. My father came while I was there. I heard footsteps behind me and turned. He stood at the path holding 3 white roses. He looked older by 10 years, his coat hung loose. His eyes were red. I can leave, he said. I looked at him for a long time. No, I said. You can put them down. He approached slowly, like I was a wounded animal he had once struck and now feared touching. He placed 1 rose on each grave. Then he stepped back. I think about that call every day, he said. I said nothing. I heard you say they were gone. I heard your voice. And I still looked at your mother first. His face crumpled. I was a coward. The word sat between us. Honest. Late. Not enough. But honest. I needed a father, I said. He nodded, crying silently. I know. I needed you to choose me one time. I know. I don't know if I can forgive you. I'm not asking today. That surprised me. He wiped his face with shaking fingers. I started counseling, he said. I moved into the guest room. I don't know what happens next. I just wanted to bring flowers and say the truth where they could hear it. For a moment, I saw him not as my father, not as my mother's quiet accomplice, but as a small, frightened man who had spent his life avoiding storms until one storm swallowed his daughter. It did not erase anything. But grief had taught me that 2 truths can stand together. He failed me. He was sorry. I said, you can stay 5 minutes. He nodded like I had given him a kingdom. We stood in silence beside the graves. That was not reconciliation. It was not forgiveness. It was 5 minutes, sometimes that is the only honest beginning. Melissa wrote me a letter 3 months later. Not a text. Not a voice memo. A real letter, folded carefully, sent through Robert's office because she respected the no contact order for once. Claire, I have rewritten this 14 times. I don't know how to apologize without sounding like I am still making excuses. I was jealous of you my whole life. That sounds insane because Mom favored me, but I think I knew deep down that you were stronger, kinder, more real. Mom protected from consequences and called it love. It made me weak. It made me selfish. I did come to your house because of the foundation. I hate admitting that. I told myself I wanted to help, but I wanted a role, a paycheck, and a way to look good. That is disgusting. You were right. I started therapy. I am not asking you to answer. I am not asking for money. I am not asking to be part of anything. I just want to say I am sorry I did not come to the hospital. I am sorry I did not come to the funeral. I am sorry I let Mom make your tragedy about us. Sophie and Eli deserved an aunt who showed up. Daniel deserved respect. You deserved a sister. I was none of those, Melissa. I sat on the kitchen floor after reading it. Not because I forgave her. Because for the first time in our lives, Melissa had written a sentence that did not ask me to carry her. I put her letter in a drawer beside Daniel's. Some people might call that hope. I call it storage. My mother never wrote a real apology. She sent messages through relatives. Your mother's blood pressure is high. Your mother cries every Sunday. Your mother has lost all her friends. Your mother wants to see you before it's too late. I answered the same way every time. I wish her health. Do not contact me about this again. Then I hung up. People think boundaries are walls built from anger. Mine were built from love for Daniel, who tried to protect me after death. Love for Sophie, who believed fragile things deserved to become beautiful. Love for Eli, who thought pancakes could treat grief. And finally, love for myself. The foundation grew faster than I could have imagined. We partnered with hospitals in 3 counties. We created emergency packets for families after fatal crashes. We helped pay for therapy, rent, funeral costs, and rides to court. We pushed for stricter monitoring of repeat DUI offenders. I testified at the State House with Captain Blue tucked in my bag. A senator mispronounced Sophie's name during a hearing. I corrected him into the microphone. It's Sophie, I said. She was 7. Please say it right. He did. The law did not pass that year. Then it came back the next. That time, it passed committee. I learned that justice is often slow, boring, procedural, and full of people who would rather not make eye contact with pain. I also learned pain can be persistent. So can mothers. Not my mother. Me. 2 years after the crash, St. Catherine's built a family quiet room near the ER, funded partly by our foundation. It had soft chairs, warm lights, tissues that were not the sandpaper hospital kind, phone chargers, blankets, and a small cabinet with stuffed animals for children who survived what others did not. On the wall was a framed print of 3 butterflies. Under it, a plaque read, "In memory of Daniel, Sophie, and Eli Bennett, for every family waiting in the hardest room of their lives, you are not alone." The day it opened, I stood in that room after everyone left. No cameras. No speeches. Just me. Angela found me there, touching the edge off the plaque. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. Then I shook my head, then we both laughed because both were true. That is the thing nobody tells you about surviving the unsurvivable. You do not become one thing. You become many. Broken and strong. Angry and kind. Lonely and loved. Grieving and useful. Still a mother, even with no backpacks by the door. I still keep Daniel's mug on the counter. I still have Sophie's butterfly drawing on the fridge, though the paper has started to curl. Captain Blue sits on my nightstand, original missing eye and all. Eli's booster seat stayed tied to the kitchen chair for 18 months. When I finally removed it, I cried so hard I threw up. Then I made pancakes for dinner. People ask if I am happy now. I do not know how to answer that. I am alive. I laugh sometimes. Real laughter. The kind that surprises me. I go to work. I come home. I speak at schools before prom season and tell teenagers that calling for a ride will never ruin their life, but driving drunk might ruin everyone else's. I sit with families in court. Isn't Shakespeare. I remember birthdays for children who are no longer here because their parents are terrified the world will forget them. I have not forgotten mine. Every year on November 18th, the foundation holds a candlelight walk. The first year, 80 people came. The second year, 300. Parents carry pictures, survivors carry scars. Nurses carry memories. We walk 1 mile through downtown Columbus with candles and paper cups, and at the end, we read names. Daniel Bennett. Sophie Bennett. Eli Bennett. The first time I heard their names through the speakers, I nearly collapsed. The second time, I stood taller. Last year, my father came. He stood at the edge, holding a candle, not trying to speak to me. Melissa came too, alone, wearing namacup, her hair in a plain ponytail. She did not approach me either. She placed 3 small butterflies near the memorial table and left before the walk began. My mother did not come. But later that night, she posted a picture of a candle on Facebook. No caption. Nobody liked it. I wish I could say I felt nothing. I felt many things. Pity. Anger. Sadness. A strange emptiness where longing used to live. But I did not call. That was healing too. Not the absence of pain. The absence of self-betrayal. Sometimes I think about the cake. I picture the room, candles glowing, Melissa smiling, my mother holding a knife, guests singing while my phone call sat between them like a badinno one wanted to see. I used to torture myself with that image. Now you understand it differently. That night did not create my family's cruelty. It revealed it. And the reveal set me free. If you are hearing my story and thinking of your own mother, your own sister, your own empty chair, your own moment when you begged and someone chose convenience, listen to me. You are not too sensitive. You are not dramatic. You are not cruel for remembering clearly. Love shows up. Not after dessert. Not when the cameras arrive. Not when there is money, attention, or a role to claim. Love shows up in the hallway when your hands are shaking. Love stands in the rain beside 3 caskets. Love builds a website at 2 a.m. Love fixes the garage door badly but tries anyway. Love says your child's name correctly. Love protects your peace when you are too tired to protect it yourself. Daniel showed up after death with a letter and a way to breathe. Sophie shows up in every butterfly on our foundation envelopes. Eli shows up every time a child in therapy draws pancakes next to a broken heart. My family of blood did not hold me when I fell. So I learned to hold myself. And every night before I sleep, I touch Daniel's mug, Sophie's drawing, and Captain Blue, and I whisper the same words into the dark: I carried you today. I will carry you tomorrow. Because grief does not end. It changes shape. And love, when it was real, does not disappear. It becomes the force that lifts you from the floor, opens the locked room, and walks you straight past the people who stayed to cut the cake.